Palestine under occupation, new Channel 5. I needed to see this. Let's see the continuation of his documentary in Palestine.
What's up, guys? It's Andrew Callahan here. Welcome to the third installment of our Palestine series.
The military's offensive extends across the occupied West Bank.
Many warn a breaking point is coming.
إن شاء الله مش رايحين نطلع لو قتلونا يعني بنظل هيك.
And it says, I know that pictures may cost me my life, but that will never stop me from taking a shot.
ما احنا دارين كيف بدنا نسوي والله يتوقف.
After getting a look at the Aida refugee camp in Bethlehem and checking out the system of urbanized apartheid in the Palestinian city of Hebron, our driver Musa thought it was time that we checked out the rural frontier of the conflict between Palestinians and legal Zionist settlers. As he explained, it was quite different. While Hebron was an example of erasure and segregation in the urban core, with Israelis living directly on top of Palestinians, literally on top, the villages on the outskirts are suffering frequent, often unnoticed attacks. Here, the Israeli army doesn't need a mass shooting to justify Palestinian displacement. They just declare an entire region as a military training zone, like for dropping bombs and testing out artillery, giving themselves a legal zoning loophole to attack and displace the Palestinians living in the area. To give us an example,
They turn it into a military training zone.
Took us up to Mastafaryata, a collection of Palestinian villages in the southern Hebron hills. It's a place that gained international attention through the Oscar-winning documentary No Other Land, which chronicled the struggles of residents under the constant threat of displacement. Compared to Hebron, villagers in these hills describe a very different kind of apartheid, one shaped by isolation, uncertainty, and frequent confrontation. As you exit Hebron, the contrast becomes visible quite quickly. Well-kept Area A Palestinian enclaves and the occasional subdivision-style Zionist settlement gradually both fade away. And
Clavicular went to Israel, and his justification was that he was really brave for showing the truth because everybody else is afraid to go there because it's a war zone. I'm going there because everyone else is too afraid to go. They won't go. Andrew Callahan of Channel 5 is actually showing what real journalism is like. That's what Clavicular's propaganda tour, it could have been this.
checkpoints are constant, but only for Palestinians. Illegal Zionist occupants have been given free travel permissions and also free reign by the IDF to harass and harm Palestinians at will. With an actual settler
I'm still muted? Whoa, what is going on with
self-defense training camp established nearby, where hilltop youth and young settlers planning to ransack the area are given a kind of terrorist training by army officers and mercenaries.
التدريب موجود لرمي السلاح لاستخدام منظومة العصابات السكاكين. طلع في الجنوب في منطقة الجنوب اللي خصوصا موجودة في قرية تطواني في عنا اللي هي حفات معون هي بؤرة استيطانية بيتم فيها تدريب عصابات المستوطنين على مستوى الضفة الغربية.
That's right, settler gangs like the ones we discussed in the previous two episodes are not bands of lost youth as
most of them are from, a lot of them are from Brooklyn. They're Brooklyn Jews who go over there in the West Bank. They believe that it's promised to them, so they just go and harass all the citizens there.
Yahoo once called them, but rather intentional communities directly tied into the Israeli army who were instructed to routinely capture, burn, torture, and kill nearby villagers. And many of these settlers first lived and trained together in settlements like Havat Ma'on.
هم بيتم تدريبهم على تخريب الممتلكات، على اعتداء الشخصي على المواطنين، حتى عمليات القتل. يعني هو اللي بيتدرب الامور اللي لها علاقه بطابع فهمت علي اللي هو التطرف والارهاب بدرجه اولى يعني.
Do you know how many people they've killed and how many people they've displaced, let's say in the past couple years?
طبعا احنا بنحكي عن فترتين عاشوها الناس. الفتره الاولى ما قبل اللي هو 7 أكتوبر، الحرب اللي كانت موجوده هنا في غزه، وما بنحكي ما بعد 7 أكتوبر. يعني هو كان إشي موجود وزاد سوء.
You know numerically how many people have been killed by settlers in Palestine since October 7th?
1,000 in the West Bank.
1,000?
1,000, of course, being a round number. The Israeli attitude is that there are no innocents. This was actually said by a government official. There are no innocents among the Palestinians.
Netanyahu just said that last week, that there's no chance for a Palestinian state while he's alive.
אני מת להוציא מחבלים להורג. עונש מוות למחבלים.
Since October 7th alone, the past 2.5 years, there have been over 1,800 incidents of settler violence and over 870 Palestinians killed by settlers, including 177 children, mostly in the name of acquiring more land, which because of the help of the army and legal impunity provided by Israeli courts, they've done quite successfully.
يعني الاستيطان الرعوي اللي سيطر على الأراضي بشكل كامل، وسواء البؤر أو البؤر الاستيطانية اللي تم السيطرة على التلال.
As we mentioned back in episode 1, Israeli official Ben Gvir Damir, himself an extremist settler, greenlit the mass distribution of military-grade gun licenses to settlers in the West Bank after Hamas's attack on October 7th.
Well, what happened was post-October 7th, Ben Gvir authorized the release of larger numbers of high-caliber firearms, so virtually all the adults in the West Bank would have qualified for a kind of machine gun. So they were just awash with these guns and you know, thinly supervised at best.
He claimed the measure was a self-defense precaution to keep settlers safe from any Hamas-style terror attacks in the West Bank. Of course, no such attack would ever occur. In fact, the opposite happened. The settlers then used these weapons to escalate violence against Palestinians, raising the civilian death toll to a place it had never been before.
حتى عمليات القتل اللي كانت بشكل مباشر من خلال المستوطنين زادت بشكل مبرر للجانب الإسرائيلي سواء حكومة واستيطان.
So, going back to what Netanyahu said about roving
Have you guys seen this documentary yet?
bands of settler youth being nothing but unincorporated gangs of lost boys. Portraying the settlers, or colonizers, as being the driving force of displacement themselves is a common trope.
I think it's much bloated. Right, cool. You know, when they're talking about it, they're talking about a handful of kids. We actually located. It's about 70 kids. They're not from the West Bank. They're actually come from teenagers who come from broken homes.
But oftentimes, it's the Israeli army itself that does the displacement, without the settlers. For example, in early 2025, Israel launched Operation Iron Wall, one of its largest operations in decades, focusing specifically on displacing residents in a place called the Jenin camp, a refugee camp about 2 hours north of Hebron in the northern West Bank. Once home to around 27,000 Palestinians, the Jenin refugee camp was almost entirely forcibly displaced by the army, who after they left, destroyed as many homes, roads, and other pieces of critical infrastructure as they could, rendering the camp uninhabitable. Today, it is almost entirely empty, and Israeli snipers guard the hills above the camp, often threatening to shoot and kill anybody who dares to return to their home.
تركت خلفها تقريبا 20,000 نازح من مخيم جنين. تهجير العملية لا زالت مستمرة لأكثر من عام. تم خلالها تدمير لا يقل عن 2000 منزل داخل مخيم جنين بحجة فتح طرقات وشق طرقات داخل المخيم، تدمير كل المنشآت التجارية، تدمير كل البنية التحتية داخل المخيم بشكل كامل، سواء في الصرف الصحي أو في شبكة المياه أو شبكة الكهرباء. بالتالي استهداف مخيم جنين اليوم احنا بنشعر هو استهداف للجغرافيا الفلسطينية، استهداف لكينونة المخيمات لانتزاعها من الجغرافيا الفلسطينية وانتزاعها من التاريخ الفلسطيني، خاصة مخيم جنين لما شكله من رمزية في محطات العمل النضال للشعب الفلسطيني. واعتقد انها هي البداية في حال نجاح الاسرائيليين في مخيم جنين من انتزاع هذا المخيم من الجغرافيا الفلسطينية والغاء وجوده، هي سوف تمتد على باقي المخيمات وتطال كافة المخيمات.
You might ask, what was the goal in the displacement of Jenin camp? Well, it's the same goal the settlers have, more land. The only difference is the army wears all green and puts out a press release after they displace and destroy a community in Palestine. In the case of Jenin, the army claimed the entire displacement was a part of an infrastructure improvement project. Of course, that's hogwash, but the goals of the army and settlers are often the same: destroy and displace.
Jenin's got one of the largest refugee camps in the region. And within the refugee camp, it's noted for its radicalism. The refugee camp in Jenin was invaded by the Israelis in 2006 after the summer war began. And the Israelis pretty much devastated the refugee camp and whole parts of Jenin as well. Jenin, ever since, in the refugee camp in Jenin, it's been home to various factions that have tried to confront Israel directly. And as I said, those factions included Hamas and Islamic Jihad and various factions that are associated with the PLO, the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, and factions like that. So
it just gets worse the more you hear about it. And the frustrating part is that I care about this so much that I accelerated the careers and made people who were bringing up this issue, especially because our tax dollars are what fund this genocide. And you see them now, they're in the TTS, like, we know where you go to the sauna. They're threatening to kill me. And look what's happening with our money over here. They're so distracted by their skin worship and saying brown, brown, that the people that should be on this side are getting subverted because they're part of a Mexican cult. It's embarrassing. Like, we need to focus our energy towards getting rid of this control.
So this is what was going on. The Israelis bombed it, and then shortly thereafter, the Palestinian Authority invaded the refugee camp in an attempt to wipe out these factions. So they were not able to do that. They reached a ceasefire. They withdrew, and then shortly thereafter, the IDF came in and just demolished the refugee camp. 10,000 refugees, homes destroyed, whole entire city blocks were destroyed within the refugee camp of Jenin. So this is where we are now.
Hey guys, quick question. How would you, that's right you, like to get your paycheck 2 days early?
Seriously? Well, I get it. You got to make your bag. Hold on. Let me skip ahead. Oh my gosh, that's a long ad.
Can you tell me about these names here?
So they are volunteers, different countries. They were here to give solidarity in supporting the Palestinians. Rachel, she was killed in Gaza by the colonizer while she's trying to stop the bulldozer destroying one of the lands for one of the Palestinians in Gaza there. Always, of course, they treat the foreigners a bit different than the Palestinians, but sometimes they don't care. And if they see you in the same place and trying to defend and participating with the protests and things with the Palestinian, they don't mind to kill a foreigner.
Yeah, there was a girl from my hometown who got killed after October 7th by the IDF.
Where about?
I think it was in Gaza.
In Gaza?
She was doing humanitarian work along the humanitarian.
The Hannibal Directive, Israel, they were in helicopters shooting their own citizens because they have a hostage situation, they can kill their own.
Border there, with helping with supplies.
Rachel Corrie?
I think she was somewhere between a journalist and an activist, but she got killed.
When we talked about risks of my sister going to the West Bank, death was definitely at the top of my list and concerns, and to receive a call and to be woken up by my husband in the morning saying that she was dead and that she was shot in the head by an Israeli soldier. It was the
Couldn't tell, we couldn't see.
That's always, they use the same excuse when they do a crime.
Reffing, what happened? Reffing? I think we're back now. Another Mossad attack.
To be honest, Rachel, she was killed in front of the camera and clear for the whole world what she's doing. And they killed her, they don't care. I don't think the colonization needs an excuse.
Yeah, maybe that schizo was right.
Because
do you think the maid is a Mossad agent that's putting a jammer in my Wi-Fi?
At the end of the day, no one will gonna punish them or deal with them.
23-year-old stands in front of an Israeli bulldozer in Gaza. The bulldozer drives over her, crushing her to death. An Israeli investigation took 1 month and found no Israeli soldier was to blame.
During our stay, we saw countless murals and memorials honoring citizens, humanitarians, and journalists who have lost their lives during this conflict and the ones before it. Since October 7th, Israel has killed more reporters than any other army in any conflict in recorded history.
That's what a stat. The IDF has killed more journalists than any other army in recorded history.
With over 250 journalists just like me killed while attempting to report on these atrocities in Palestine. As we left the memorial, I couldn't help but feel the reality of the situation setting in. With violence against humanitarians and journalists occurring on a regular basis, perpetrated by both the Israeli government and settler population, I felt a bit nervous, and it was hard to imagine being Palestinian having to live with this constant anxiety day and night. Around sunset, we traveled into a small village in the hills of Al-Mufakara, just south of Hebron, and spoke to villagers midway through the process of setting up a nightly patrol to protect their community from settler attacks.
احنا من الحراسة هذه من 7 أكتوبر ورجاي نصبنا هنا خيمي على أساس أن نقعد فيها ونتضارب فيها عن السقعة فما قدرنا ما زبطت معانا جابوا لنا الإدارة واعطونا اختار 24 ساعة إذا ما بتقيم بيدك أنا بجيب أهدها فاضطرينا نعمل كوشوك زي ما أنت شايف فبنضل باستمرار يعني إحنا مراقبين المنطقة وحارسين للمنطقة لخوف يصير علينا أي هجوم في الليل ما نقدر ندافع عن نفسنا أو ما نقدر نحمي أولادنا وشو ما ضايقوا وشو ما استفزوا قاعدين غصب عنهم وعن اللزعم منهم أرضنا ما بنسيبها.
Without any effective leadership, they say that peaceful self-defense measures are their only option.
فإحنا يعني مش عارفين لمين نتوجه حتى نعرف وين كيف نحصل على حقوقنا وأرضنا. أرضنا منعونا إياها بيحاولوا فينا من قبل 7 أكتوبر ولقوا 7 أكتوبر حجي. الأحداث اللي صارت هجموا علينا عدة مرات وكسروا الدور.
Their courage, it can't be unnoticed. They're the heart of our ummah. Look how much courage that they are able to maintain amidst all this hardship. It's a reminder too, if they can maintain their deen and their iman and have courage in this time, it's like, we have no excuse to not be doing something like praying.
اضطرينا ان نجيب شيك شبك زي الشفرات هذا مقابل انهم ما يدخلوش على الاطفال اللي يدعسوا الاطفال. اليوم الصبحيات دعسوا من الدواجن بطه، وقبل فتره دعسوا كلاب وغنم، وكانوا يجيبوا لنا فطايس من عندهم يفطسن ويرموا لنا اياها باب الدور.
على اساس انه كيف يعني المفقره ناس قاعدين وساكتين ما سووا مشاكل والتزموا حفاظا على اولادهم وعلى حالهم وعلى بيوتهم. واقتحموا الخربة من جميع النواحي، يعني طوقوا الخربة تطويق، وحديتهم بس كيف نزلوا من السيارات بلشوا في الخربة قنابل صوت وفلم، يضوي فلم في الجو، ضوى الخربة كلها ويضرب قنابل صوت، ما في دار إلا ما ضرب عليها قنبلة صوت. صار صريخ لأولاد صغار، فغير النسوان، يعني منظر. قال لي إذا بصير مرة ثانية بيجي أي مستوطن بيحكي إن كنتوا رجمتوا حجار أنا باجي هان بحرق الخربة حرق.
In addition to the civilian attacks, home demolitions, and other war crimes committed every single day, settlers have also used animal abuse as a way to try to force Palestinians off their land and create terror. For centuries, people in villages like in Massafaryata have made their living through agriculture and livestock, and it's been passed down through generations, providing food, money, and forging a deep connection to the land. Because of this, settlers will steal, torture, cut the eyes out of, or even kill the sheep that belong to villagers, typically by going into their houses or farms to commit horrible crimes against these animals. Intentional infliction of trauma and terror aside, without any source of food.
Look at that. Look at this video.
Crimes against these animals. Intentional infliction of trauma.
He's throwing a rock at these cats.
And terror.
And they say Muslims hate dogs because we don't want to eat pizza with the dog. Because we don't want to share spaghetti the way that the kuffar.
Aside, without any source of food or income, communities often starve, have to move elsewhere for sustenance, and slowly disappear as nearby illegal settlements grow and continue to expand.
المستوطن وصلت فيه يسرح باب الدور بالغنم، وغنمنا محشرة في الدور. إن سنتين غنمنا ما طلع من الأسير، مع إنه الأرض أرضنا والمستوطن صارت هي أرضه، وإحنا يا أهل الأرض ما إن ممنوع نتحرك من الدور. يعني استفزاز وصل معنا فوق ما إحنا متضايقين، وضايقونا البؤر اللي أنتم شايفينها كيف مطوقة المفقرة تطويق. إحنا كمان ضايقنا على حالنا مشان نحمي حالنا ونحمي أولادنا، فحطينا القدير هذا اللي أنتم شايفينه، ضايقنا على حالنا أكثر بس مشان نحمي أولادنا.
As we conducted this interview, a settler rolled up on an ATV.
Gosh, it's like these people are so stupid and they watch all of my streams. Some of the chat, like, look how dumb this kafir is. Kafir or kufar, which is it, LARPer? Kufar is the plural for kafir, you stupid idiot. Like, these people think that they're higher IQ and they call me, oh, you're like subhuman every day. It takes one Google search to figure out what you're talking about. You're a LARPer. Kufar is the plural. You like there's, and they just come in here every day. It's, oh, he can't decide if it's kafir or kufar. They're so stupid. Wallahi, they're so stupid.
Apparently employing a common tactic of intimidation that settlers like him use on villagers every single day.
Now maybe you'll see him with a normal uniform, but in the night he wear the soldier uniform, and he come back and start searching houses and interrogating people.
طبعا هذا العمل العادي، يعني احنا هذا بنهتمش فيه كثير جدا، هذا لأنه روتين عادي.
He will go there and he will call the army, the Iowa, and he will tell
stop
them
getting rage
just lie,
baiting.
like people are.
Bing, shut up, move on, go next. You are actually insane.
Attacking me, and there is also visitors also try to attacking me, so to make it more complicated for the people here.
هو الحين حزمق وزعل.
I'm bringing up. I saw a tweet go viral saying that SNEAKO doesn't know, like, the LARP is insane. He doesn't know how to pronounce kafir because they think they're talking about the yogurt. That's it's like KEFIR.
عشان احنا ما سوينا إشي.
As we said way back in episode 1, the goal is to clear the area by any means necessary, and provoking a reaction from a Palestinian villager gives the Israeli settler the upper hand in terms of, I guess, fighting back in self-defense and then calling in the army for backup. After that, the army can arrest whoever was involved in the confrontation, of course the Palestinian. Then, while people are detained, the army and settlers can come back together, often swapping outfits, to declare the Palestinian homes their own. Then, of course, from there, they'll tear everything down, maybe to one day be populated by Americans from New York City or Boca Raton, Florida. On certain rare occasions where a villager has decided to call the police to report a settler trespassing on their property and trying to intimidate them, the police that responded, aka the Israeli army, not only refused to help the villagers, but then arrived and threatened one of them with jail time if he called the cops again.
تقريبا على 10 اتصلت على الشرطة بقول له المستوطن المستوطن هاي يعني بالبيوت. الشرطي وصل لحد الآن لقى اللي هو الحراسة الجيش الحارس للمستوطنة ما ردش عليه، اقفى وسوى على التحن الشرطة حكوا معاه، له بيحكي معاي، له بقول لي أنا وصلت، قلت له أنت وصلت؟ نعم. ما رضت تنزل حتى تشوف المستوطن. له بقول لي اسمع، إذا ثاني دور بترجع ترفع تلفون للشرطة أنا من الدار باجي بعتقلك. ممنوع تعترض المستوطن، مسموح له وين ما يرتع، هذه أرض دولي ممنوع تعترضه من مرة. وأنا برجع وبكرر لك إذا بترجع تحكي مع الشرطة أنا برجع بعتقلك من الدار. قلت له ماشي. عاملين علينا حصار شامل كما زي حصار شمال غزة، يعني لا يفرق شيء يعني ما احنا دارين كيف.
Clearly, the West Bank situation is not spoken about enough. There's not even Hamas. There's not a Hamas presence there. What's the justification for this? Because in Gaza they say they need to get the terrorists. Like West Bank, it's just civilians living.
سوي والله يتلطف.
These men do their best to keep their families safe, but women and children in the village are put through the same harassment and daily violence from settlers. During our visit, we spoke with several kids about what it's like growing up there. One boy, Ahmed, shared a story about how he's been personally harassed.
بيجي بيكذبوا انه حدا ضربهم، بيجي يعتقلوا الكبير والصغير، بيقتلوا كل شيء، اي شيء بيشوفوه بيعتقلوه، وحشية ولا زيها في العالم، اي شيء بيلقوه بياخذوه. كنت في البيت لو بيجيني بيقول هذا عن ابوي وعن ان انا وياه انا وابوي انه بقى نضرب عليه حجاب، واحنا ما كنا. الحين اجى الجيش واعتقلونا والدنيا اعتقلونا والدنيا مطر والدنيا سقعه واخذونا حجزونا غات.
We were able to gain access to the video of the incident being described, where Ahmed was arrested for allegedly throwing stones. Throwing stones is a common charge in the West Bank that allows the Israeli army to arrest and detain children indefinitely.
كل الوقت.
One thing that came up repeatedly in our conversations was concern for the next generation. So before leaving, we gave Ahmed one of our camcorders, showed him how to use it, and welcomed him to the Channel 5 news team as a civilian correspondent. We asked him to film his life, his village, what he thought was important. Over the course of the next 5 years, we'll be keeping track of his footage, distributing it on Channel 5 in bursts, and keeping you all in the loop.
See you guys.
With the absence of an effective Palestinian government and no real method to get justice, legally speaking, people like those in the village can only make their case to one authority, the media, like us. But even speaking to journalists can result in arrest, especially if they're found to have distributed videos of settler attacks directly to a media member. That in itself carries a penalty. For this reason, the distribution of media depicting settler attacks, like iPhone videos and stuff like that, is done on encrypted platforms, where videos are sent, collected, and distributed by an organization called Al-Haq in Ramallah, who recently had their YouTube channel taken down and entire catalog cleared, resulting in the permanent deletion of hundreds of videos depicting human rights violations. They've also been officially declared a terrorist organization by Israel. Anyways, back to the scrubbing of Al-Haq's YouTube channel. So that deletion was caused by a US review that found the channel was working with the ICC, who had an open investigation into Benjamin Netanyahu's war crimes, which they issued an official arrest warrant for in November of 2024. So if you're wondering why you're hearing about Al-Haq right now for the first time, that's why. They were effectively erased from the internet right as settler violence began to reach its peak after October 7th.
I never heard about Al-Haq, bro.
But still, even in the shadows and shadow banned on every major platform.
And that's the frustrating thing. I got banned on YouTube for platforming Pablo Fuentbreak. 2 strikes were for platforming him. Now they're TTSing saying they want to kill me in the sauna. Like, I got banned, and I'm banned on most social media because of this issue. And the people that are now attacking the most, it's not even the Israelis. It's these little Mexican catboys. It's so ironic.
Platform, Al-Haq has meticulously collected digital media and personal testimony for the past 2.5 years.
No one can hold them accountable. No one will ask them anything. The maximum is condemnations, just statements, press release.
There are 150 juvenile delinquents that are not part of that community. They come from the other parts of Israel. I don't want vigilantes of any kind, and we are working to put them under the law.
That's the maximum. What's our role in this case? Our role is to document the human rights violation according the international standards of the documentation. Means that we don't depend on media in our information. We depend on our information from the eyewitnesses or the victims themselves. And we don't document everything. We have no capacity to document everything. But we said right to life is fundamental right. Now when it comes after October 7th, I think they said that we have free hands and there is no limits. I am one from those they think that the Israelis, they have limits.
What does al-Haq mean?
Said we have more than it.
I just texted him, but he just responded. That said, you should do a documentary in Palestine. Bro, the IDF wrote my name on a missile in 2024. I have Mossad agents posting AI videos. Tommy Robinson is saying I'm trying to bring Islamington. I have Elon Musk trying to deport me. And the frustrating thing, you're seeing these goipers TTS and say that they're going to kill me when I go to the gym. They don't understand. It's like you're not on a list of the priorities of people that want me out. I have people in the chat saying, I think Mossad put you on a list. Yeah, obviously. Mossad is clearly paying Tommy Robinson, and he's slandering me nonstop. Okay, I have Elon Musk, who's obviously tied up with Mossad in Israel. He's trying to deport me. It's like, you are not. That's one of the frustrating things is like, do you think that you guys in your death threats, do you think that this is on a list of the priorities? I have, even in Israeli propaganda, they listed demonizing Muslims and jihad and Sharia and Islamic extremism as their number one tool of propaganda, demonizing Muslims. They said this. Anti-Islam propaganda is their number one use of propaganda because they get all their money from America. And America gets brainwashed by this idea that Islamic extremism is taking over. And I'm seeing people within this side who pretend to be anti-Israel echo that propaganda when they're telling you they're using anti-Muslim rhetoric to justify their expansion. It's right in front of your face and people don't get it still.
This is a sick army. And this is a sick people. That's the case.
Do you think with this new generation of young kids growing up in the West Bank, there could be any kind of major resistance movement that grows in the following decades?
Look,
yeah, probably.
I don't know.
They're going to fight back. I mean, the kids are throwing rocks and they justify murdering them because they're throwing rocks. When the children eventually try to fight back and create some sort of resistance group, they're going to go and say that they're terrorists, they need to be killed. What do you expect them to do? Do you expect them to just take it, having their houses bulldozed, harassed, sending animals and gouging out the sheep eyes to go and attack civilians? Of course they're going to fight back.
But I'm sure that maybe it's tomorrow. I don't know. But I know one main thing, that if there is an occupation, it will be a resistance. If there is apartheid system, it will be a resistance. If there is colonial regime, like the one that we are living in, it's resistance. That's, except if we are not normal people, and we are normal, and we are,
Another one of the frustrating aspects of this, it's people like, I like Mehdi Hassan, he's doing great work, but people like Louis Theroux and other leftists who are speaking about this just position this as a European colonial project. They just say Zionism is not Judaism. Zionism is the extension of rabbinic Judaism. How many rabbis do you need to hear say that Palestinians don't deserve to exist? That when the false Messiah comes, that they're going to enslave 28,000 Goyim? How many times do you need to hear Ben-Gvir, part of the Jewish Power Party, say that he wants to torture and murder the prisoners that he captures? They will avoid speaking to me and position me as an anti-Semite. That's what Louis Theroux did in his documentary, The Manosphere, when I said that the Rothschild, the central bank system controls the world, or when I'm talking about the Epstein list, oh, you're an anti-Semite. It's like, Zionism does not exist without rabbinic Judaism. It's not a separate political ideology. It's the arm of rabbinic Judaism. It's their power structure. But they avoid that subject because they don't want to get canceled. And I don't like that. It's time to get rid of that control.
The owner of this place.
Great, well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I appreciate the interview.
Thank you.
Well, if you look at settler colonialism, you see that this has been a way in which colonists have been able to so-called clear the land. I mean, the American move to the West, for example, was, very, very similar to what the Israelis are doing, clearing out.
And that's what the Christian Europeans did, right? The Jews in Israel, they say that the land was promised them 3,000 years ago. The European Christians who expanded to the West, into the Americas, they said, manifest destiny. It's the same ideology. God promised us this land.
Population.
I just can't believe in this era, I'm sure you're used to all this, but with cell phones, that there's still a place where someone can kill you, illegally occupy your village, kill you, take any of your stuff, and then the army's okay with it, and you can't prosecute them, you can't do anything.
Can't.
So if you were living in one of these villages, like in Massaferyata, and you called the cops, who would pick up the phone?
The IDF controls the area.
يعني الشرطة صرنا نتصل على الشرطة تودي جيش، الجيش موالي للمستوطنين. لأول مرة بنشوف مواطن لابس سويل يتحكم في اللباس العسكري.
Is there a 911 or an emergency line?
Even if there was, it wouldn't have any effect.
There's no PA hotline?
There's no PA hotline, no.
So if you're...
I've been apprehensive to talk about this too, but here's the harsh reality of the situation. So I'm going to build a school in Gaza, giving $50,000 to this organization that was helping out Habib. People are saying, what if it gets bombed? It's a high probability that the school I'm going to build gets bombed. But wallahi, if one child gets to learn from that school, it's worth it. But that is a harsh reality. I don't want to talk about that because it's like, okay, is your money being wasted? But look at what they're dealing with. But that is a reality to think about. Like, how long is the school going to even stay up? How many schools have they eradicated? Look at the infrastructure in Gaza now. But if a child gets to learn there for a couple of weeks at least, money well spent.
You're a victim of a crime and you're Palestinian. You have to call the Israeli army.
You really have no recourse. I mean, calling the Israeli army is, basically out of the frying pan into the fire.
Is there a way to prosecute a settler who might kill your neighbor?
Theoretically, yes. In reality, it's very, very difficult. It's not impossible.
The response by the Israeli military.
Look at the Israelis. Look at them. What is this? Is this Laura Loomer in 30 years and 20 years, bro? Is that Netanyahu in a wig? Is that a woman?
And the settlers is to punish all the Palestinians. There is no accountability.
Never mind, she's on our side. My bad. Sorry, astaghfirullah.
For Israeli settlers.
If you were to try to navigate that difficult path, where would you start?
I don't think most Palestinians would put themselves at risk and try to navigate the path. I mean, we're talking about not only putting yourself at risk, but putting your entire family at risk and everything you own.
Friendly fire.
Fundamentally, there really is no recourse. The recourse that the Israelis are counting on is that people are going to leave with their, vote with their feet. They're going to leave.
Control Z.
If they make life hard enough. And so this is why these things are publicized. They're not secret. I mean, what Lenin once said about terrorism, the idea of terrorism is to terrorize.
I know your number, I know your family, I know where your cousin, your grandma, your father, your uncle, I know where everyone lives.
The idea of these things is to terrorize people into leaving, make them vote with their feet and get out. Same thing in Gaza. No more goals to clear the area.
Understanding the difference between legal consequences for Palestinians protecting their land versus the settlers attempting to displace them illegally can be confusing and contradictory, but it's reality.
It's interesting you said they're not recognized by the Israeli government, and I feel like
outposts, not
the outposts, but I feel like there's this gray area that they love to kind of like dance around because there is a relationship between Ben Gvir and the outpost settlements, right?
I mean, I don't know how it works functionally, but the attitude of Smotrich or Ben Gvir or Daniela Weiss, who I interviewed, would be, it's not the West Bank, it's Judea and Samaria. It's historically, in their view, the Jewish homeland, and
see, it's not just Zionism.
Therefore, it should all be settled. They're only sorry that there's basically any Palestinians there, and they'd like to see all the settlements. They want to see it all annexed. The West Bank has not been annexed. It's under occupation. So it's in this weird limbo of 60 years of being controlled.
I really think, I don't know what you guys think, if you agree. I think Louis Theroux in that documentary, the Manosphere documentary, when he was insinuating I'm an anti-Semite and that I'm just a Jew hater.
Liking the glasses.
I love the glasses. I think he was trying to use me to avoid cancellation, right? Because he talks about this. He's made good documentaries about the West Bank settlers. But by insinuating that I'm an anti-Semite for saying the Rothschilds control the world, even though Rothschild Boulevard is one of the first streets and that runs through the middle of Tel Aviv, I think he's using me as a piece to say, look, I'm not as extreme as SNEAKO.
Controlled by the Israeli military, but not recognized officially as part of Israel. So there's 3 million Palestinians who don't have full rights.
SNEAKO,
they don't
I
have
am
voting
Muslim.
rights.
Do you
they
have
don't
any
have their
tip
own
on quitting alcohol?
Stop drinking. Replace it with something better. Remember the hadith. Whenever you think about picking up a cup, whatever you give up for the sake of Allah, Allah rewards you with something greater. So right now, my alcohol, my temptation is zina. Like I get really frustrated, and that's how traditionally I would like relieve tension and anger and just let it out like that. But whatever you give up for the sake of Allah, Allah rewards you with something greater. So you could pray instead. You can give charity instead. Do something positive instead. You could read instead. And it's difficult at first, but you're going to have a stronger iman resisting these temptations. And that's stress relief. You could relieve that stress in different ways. Prayer relieves it.
And they live for the most part in either villages or cities that to different degrees are subject to explicit and intense IDF control. So Smotrich, Ben Gvir, Daniela Weiss would say, well, we just call it Israel, and you either agree to be part of Israel and you'll get some rights, or if you don't, then you leave and you're forcibly deported.
It dawned on me that while completely out in the open, just the sheer difficulty, like logistically, of getting this footage from SD cards in the West Bank, then edited and published on social media for the world to see, is an unnecessarily momentous task. And I'm not just talking about the customs process in Israel or the issue of security when actually filming content in Palestine, but I'm talking about the final frontier, which is distributing this kind of content online. The big four platforms are entirely owned by Zionist
Dude, look at Elon Musk
content online. The big four platforms are entirely...
He should be deported for doing this. Like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. This is the the worst.
Owned by Zionist-captured tech oligarchs who have been directly paid and...
Also, not asking for approval or validation, but I do deserve more credit for pushing this over to window and speaking about this when it was the riskiest. I was on that Yay 24 campaign a year before October 7th. I got banned everywhere. You know, I was one of the first people talking about this in America on a major scale, right? That opened up the door for others to be able to speak about it. But people never, I don't see that mentioned ever.
Funded by lobbying groups within Israel and the US who have one interest: suppressing the truth about the horrific things happening in Palestine and making sure that Western viewers and content consumers remain mostly in the dark about this stuff.
The Xanax addict, October 7th, he tweets, "At Netanyahu, give him hell."
This particular issue of censorship in the West when it comes to Palestine coverage is particularly extreme in one place: the UK, birthplace of 21 Savage, enemies of Kneecap.
Have you heard of the group Palestine Action before?
Yes, of course, yeah.
So while I was in the hills of Hebron, which was last January, our New York City correspondent JP Scatini was in the streets of London, where large groups of Brits were being arrested and taken to jail for saying two words: Palestine Action. Here's a look at that.
It brings me a little bit of sadness to say that free speech laws here in Britain are not what they are in the United States.
Free speech is very important. I don't know if you're referring to any place in particular. Perhaps they are, but we've had free speech for a very, very long time here. So we're very proud about that. We protect it.
That's right, because here in the UK, you can spend up to 6 months in prison for holding a sign or putting on a pin with a phrase that the government doesn't like. And that's exactly what's happened over the past 5 months or so. Over 2,200 people have been arrested here in the UK for holding up signs in favor of a group called Palestine Action, a direct action protest group here in the UK that back in July...
I want to give a shout out too quickly. Here's what I haven't spoken about. I want to give a shout out quickly to the leftists that are speaking out about Palestine. Some of the most prominent activists for this issue, a lot of them are transgender. A lot of the people getting their student visas revoked, it's these leftists, it's these people that understand that this oppression is part of a greater system that's destroying our country. And yeah, we don't agree with them and but they are the ones that are really there at these protests. And you see the propaganda, they're like, oh, okay, they'll throw gays off the roofs. It's like there's no proof of this. But they deserve credit, and they have been right about this for years, you know, for years.
July, the British government designated as a terrorist organization. So we're here in Tavistock Square in London, where protesters have gathered, and here at 1 p.m., they are all in unison going to write the phrase.
The transgender activists who are speaking about this and getting their student visas revoked and getting expelled from school and getting attacked by Zionists. I even heard a story, there was like Zionists that were throwing tear gas at the transgender protesters. They ended up suing Columbia and getting like $400,000. Those transgenders have far more balls than the conservative right. Conservative right, what are they doing right now? They're completely subverted by Israel. They have no conservative values at all. Yeah, they're incorrect about a lot of issues, but they have far more courage than these people on the right who pretend to be America first.
Post-genocide, I support Palestine.
WJZO.
And then line up to be arrested en masse.
My name's Alice. This is my girlfriend Rebecca. She decided to come here today, handcuffed to me, and put this sign, which is, you know, clearly
this insane person who's dating a mannequin, far more balls than the conservative right in America.
Support of a terrorist organization.
My name's Paul. I'm with a socialist choir called Strawberry Thieves. Labour acting just like Tories. La 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 la. I'm here to support the people who are fighting for the freedom of expression.
As you can see behind me, there have got to be between 50 and 100 police officers here, and now the police are going one by one and making arrests. The protesters are not making it easy on them. They have gone limp. They are not resisting arrest, but are refusing to help them do their jobs. And so, one by one, they are being carried out by a group of 5 to 6 officers at a time.
Do you have anything you want to say to the people as you get dragged out?
Free Palestine.
Stop enabling the people who are killing people. That's what I want you to do. In our thousands, we will oppose you. We want you to do the right thing.
Look how they're picking up this beautiful human being. It is disgusting as we are seeing the erosion of British democratic values at the behest of Benjamin Netanyahu. Shame on this government. This government doesn't have a leg to stand on. This government is being dictated by the Zionist lobby, not just in the United States, but across the globe.
It's the Australia, the UK, all over Europe.
She's the terrorist! I'm innocent! She has a mind of her own! It's the mannequin who's the terrorist, it's not me! All I did was fall in love! Ah!
I don't want to break your I like your handcuffs, but I just don't want to...
Rebecca, don't separate me from her! I can't bear to be away!
My name is Sam Weinstein. I'm part of the International Jewish Anti-Zionist Network here in the UK, and I'm here to support people who are opposing genocide.
The fact that you can be arrested for protesting the proscription of Palestine action and for opposing genocide is insane.
And this is taking place after the United Nations believes that Israel is carrying out a genocide in Gaza.
The fact that for holding a sign you can be labelled a terrorist in this country is absolutely nuts. The amount of police officers that is here today just shows the priorities of this state in suppressing any kind of political dissent. That's what we're here to highlight.
So since the UK's free speech crackdown began a couple years back, 2 things have happened. Keir Starmer, the Labour Party MP, has resigned, and the Palestine Action defendants have been convicted and sentenced to prison for terrorism.
In a significant ruling, Judge Jeremy Johnson determined that the offences carried a terrorism connection, saying the attack was intended to influence British government policy and advance a political cause.
All this stuff happening in the UK weighed on my mind. And back in the US too, where I've covered a bunch of different protests. I wondered if the people of Palestine knew how much of the world was with them. Despite the absence of Palestinian soldiers, local militias to defend against settlers, or any real resistance group being active to fight for Palestinians in the West Bank, there are so many people on their side who want to help them. Every major city in America has held daily protests for their cause. Socialist politicians in the US are winning seats across the country, becoming mayors, congresspeople, and state senators just by primarily running on the platform of divestment from Israel. As the world turns, gradually, against Israeli occupation, it's strange to be in Palestine, where things are only seeming to get worse. My point being that despite this mass overhaul of worldwide support, Palestinians in the West Bank and in Gaza remain mostly alone to fight a cruel beast larger and more powerful than most of us can fathom. But that's when I remembered. There technically is a Palestinian government, right? The PA. They're in control of a solid 18% of the West Bank and most places where Palestinians live. They've got a seat at the UN. And even within Palestine, they've got a courthouse, a jail, and they have cop cars everywhere. In fact, they're the biggest employer in the territories. This left me with one big question. Where are they? Where is the PA? Here's what Palestinians have to say.
The Palestinian Authority is a big lie.
سلطة عاجزة بكل ما تحمله الكلمة من معنى.
ولا سوون أي شيء من 7 أكتوبر لغاية اليوم. السلطة ما قدمت لنا أي شيء ولا يعني ما فيش أي مساعدة من السلطة. يعني السلطة فيش في ده شيء هي أول شيء.
This authority it has no power.
الإسرائيلي قوض السلطة الوطنية الفلسطينية ومنع إمكانية المعالجة إلها. يعني.
اليوم تبتكي عن جسم فهمت على موجود السلطة مش قد تدفع رواتب للموظفين من اليوم فهمت علي إنك.
السلطة ما لهاش عندنا أي سلطة. ما في لا سلطة راح تسوي شيء ولا الدول العربية مسوي شيء. ما دام هذول العالم ذي السلطة العوض الله.
During my time in Palestine, the PA had been like a ghost. Hardly even there. And despite my best attempts to reach them, I was unable to make contact. But on the last day, our team got a call from the head of security services, the equivalent to the general of the PA Army. He said he wanted to meet up to discuss what could be done to resist settler expansion in the West Bank. So I took a trip to Ramallah for the meeting. His name was Anwar Rajab, Brigadier General of the PA, a former bodyguard for Yasser Arafat during the Second Intifada, now in charge, who claimed he had a plan.
Of course.
If you'd like to see our full interview with the Palestinian general and support us while doing it, we've just put the entire thing up on Patreon at www.patreon.com/channel5. No, Channel 5, scaling and expansion. Again, placement, news.
We also just launched our own streaming platform called C5.now.
All right, great documentary. Shout out Andrew Callahan. I'm looking forward to that interview. I want that to drop ASAP.